Stopping by the market, cardboard for a mattress. Someone stole his shoes. In his eyes you see no pride. And sitting calmly by his side, his sole companion, a dog.
We're always bloody waiting. We spend our whole bloody lives bloody waiting, don't we? Waiting for the next gyro to arrive. Waiting for the darkness to end. For the hostel to let us back in again. Waiting for the next drink. For the next fix. Waiting for bloody Prince Charming. Waiting for the bruises to disappear. Waiting for the soup run. Waiting for the pills to kick in. For the rain to stop. For the pain to stop. Waiting for my life to begin again. First thing that you learn is that you always gotta wait. Do you remember that song? Waiting for the man. Waiting. That's all there is to our lives. It shouldn't be like this, should it?
Hi, I'm Claire and I play Rose Traherne. Most of these people call her Trolley. 58 years old, born and bred in Plymouth, you might be surprised to find her classified as homeless. Penniless, but still very careful about her appearance, she likes to keep her distance from everybody. Trolley's coat may be threadbare in places, but the buttons all match and are tightly sewn on.
Hi, I'm Clive. I play Brainbox, Alan Thomas, retired Royal Marine. He's in his 50s, he's very well read, but unfortunately because of his circumstances, he's unable to vote, but he's very keen on national and local politics.
Talking about the wretched of the earth, right? That reminds me of when I was at school and I was doing my GCSEs, right? I performed a speech from a play about a prostitute called Shantae. That was it, Shantae. And this character, Shantae, right? She says how difficult it is to be good if you're poor, when you're struggling with where you're going to sleep and with what you're going to eat. Right up your street, the drama teacher said to me, right? I wasn't quite sure how to take that though, because my mum was on the game and everyone knew that. But I don't think he meant anything by it. My parents, right, and my sister Shirley, they came to see me perform Shantae. We did it all posh-like in a real theatre, with tickets and programmes. And in the evening, my dad was there. He was out of nick at the time for good behaviour.
No, mate, I was just thinking, we had a dog, looked a bit like a terrier, you know, a cross with a Jack Russell. When we was little, Dad came home with him one night, brought him into the kitchen under his coat. He was a lovely little thing. Best friend I ever had. But we lost him one day down by the canal.
Anyway, how are you, Brainbox? Surviving?
Yes, better than I was before.
Oh, bloody hell! What's brought that change about then?
It was a chance encounter. I bumped into one of my mates from the Royal Marines in the library. Hadn't seen him for ages. He took me out for a couple of drinks and then persuaded me to go to the Chicana to get some help from my head.
Oh, we could all do with a bit of that.
Didn't want to do it at first, but he physically marched me down there one morning. Came all the way down to my caravan to get me, and then sat for all the interviews and things. And he even put me in touch with fellow veterans who were suffering from similar issues.
Do you think your mate could come along and sort out my life?
The thing is, I didn't realise how low I got during the winter.
That's what I need. I need someone to come along and sort out all my problems for me, once and for all. Sort out my fella for a start.
It's not like that though, is it? You've got to want to do it yourself, Alice. I've been offered help from loads of organisations, but I've always refused. Leave me alone, you wankers, I tell them.
That's right, Brainbox, a load of wankers.
But when my old mate from the Royal Marines appeared, he didn't judge me, he didn't look down at me, he listened to me. And then something one of the ladies at the Chicana said to me made me think. She said, I can't fix you, but I can support you, I can help you, but I can't fix you. You've got to want to do that yourself.
My name's James. I play Robin Holsworthy. Robin used to work in Reading at a travel agent's, but that went bust because of COVID. He then came down here after spending all his time playing on his Xbox doing the Call of Duty. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine he would become a victim of this country's dysfunctional housing system.
I went back to Wilton Street. That's where Edwina lived. I lived there for about 6 months, maybe longer. You see, I used to deliberately go out of my way to be arsey in most of those homes they placed me in. I didn't give a shit about most of them. They made it clear they really didn't want me, so I thought, I'll make their lives hell. But Edwina was different. This was when social service was trying to get me adopted, off their books, get shot at me. Edwina was different because I think she really liked me. She was the only one that ever cared about me.
And so the days and months drift by. There is no tomorrow for the likes of us, because tomorrow can't be relied upon to come. So we just live for the day. Fear plays an enormous part in our lives. Fear of him, fear of her, fear of the past, fear of what tomorrow might bring, fear of the authorities. Looks fade quickly, hair turns grey, teeth fall out, your sight fails, your bodily functions fail. Memory goes, pity goes, to be replaced by fear and aggression. Socks rot onto your feet. They feel as sharp as a knife when icy, cutting into you. You wash your feet in a public loo, if you can find one, but not in winter. Because this life plays hell with your feet. A doctor once said to me, "Show me your feet, and I can tell you all about your general health." This past winter has been particularly harsh. January was a brute of a month. Not cold, not freezing cold like a few years ago, but wet. It rained for days on end. I'd rather have it cold than wet. Wet clothes seep into your very bones. And we live in perpetually damp clothes.
Some nights I can see the pitch black sky and the pinpoint lights of the stars. The nights are so dark out there in Afghanistan, not like here. I could see Orion's belt. I remember clocking it. Seconds before, my mate blinding flash and my mate's body's exploding. Nobody ever paid for that technical error. All we ever got was a special relationship crap.
You're a fool, newbie.
Well, that was when Bill and his mates got me into the shoplifting until I got caught with a six-pack in my rucksack.
So, where are you living now?
Here and there, anywhere I can.
Are you on a drink again?
Sometimes, now and again.
Do you remember that night when you first arrived here? And do you remember what Brainbox said to you that very first night? His advice to you?
No, I don't remember.
Brainbox said to you, newbie, catch the next bus back home. If you haven't got enough money, then hitch a ride. It's no use you stopping here. You're wasting your time. Do you remember that?
I remember now, yeah.
Brainbox also told you that you've got to look after yourself. You can't rely on anybody. You don't seem to have listened to a word he said. You're a waste of space, newbie.
I just couldn't get my head around what my sister said. She said, don't come. My own bloody sister.
Hello, my name is Jack Reese and I play the part of William O'Riordan, or Billy Bullshit as he's known on the streets, and that will become obvious why as we go along. Billy had a very traumatic childhood, living in foster homes, moving from care home to care home. He spent half of his life in prison and the other half living on the streets and working odd jobs. Billy at the moment is sleeping on a friend's floor, but that won't last for long. It never does. Pretty soon he'll be back on the streets in his tent.
A few days after Robin told us, I read about his death in an old copy of the Herald that I found. It said that one of the neighbours looked out of her bedroom window and saw him in the back garden of a house in Wilton Street, and she rang the police. He's gone out the back, in the garden area. He's sitting on a chair and he's been out there for hours. He's just sitting there, he's not moving. He's only got on a thin anorak and the weather's awful. It must be freezing out there. He's probably only in his 50s, but he looks more like a 70-year-old. He obviously needs someone to go and check on him. Someone should go and help him. But nobody did. And the hours slithered by. Darkness, like a black lake, shrouded him as the temperature dipped well below zero. Bill started on his second bottle of whiskey, and the neighbour went to bed.
Do you not know? Bullshit is dead. I don't know the details. I was told that one of the street pastors found him unconscious round the back of the Barbican. They took him to Derriford and he was in there for a few days. Then I met him later. I was looking through the skips for food when he suddenly turned round the corner and shouted to me. He looked really rough. He discharged himself from hospital. And he said he was going home. I don't know what he was talking about because he has no bloody home.
Hello, I'm called Jackie and I play the part of Alice Lockwood. Alice has been involved in an abusive relationship with her so-called boyfriend for more than 20 years. She knows that she should leave him because of his violent outbursts. But she also knows that if she were to do so, she would be out on the streets without a penny to her name.
It's difficult playing a character like Bill. It was so obvious what was wrong. There was so little going for him in his life. He never had the help and support that he needed as a young lad. But to end up freezing to death in somebody's back garden, that's beyond belief.
Especially when you realise there are more than 250,000 houses in England classified as long-term empty. That means they've been empty for more than 6 months. I wonder how many there are in Plymouth, and how many second homes that lie empty for months on end.
Perhaps we could learn something from an organisation like St Ives Community Land Trust, who are buying property and converting it into affordable accommodation for local people. Or like the Easy Let scheme here in Plymouth, which works with landlords of vacant properties.
I don't know if Robin will use the 30 quid given to him by Alice to go to his sister in Newton, or whether he'll waste it on drink. We probably all hope that he will go to his sister's, but perhaps he's already stayed here too long. When the life is so carefully built for yourself, a decent job, secure home, good friends is all suddenly flushed away, and your only relative rejects you, then that is a real mountain to climb. We just have to wait for him to be ready to take that step for himself.
Ending homelessness doesn't mean that it will never happen again, but it should be a rare event, and when it does happen, there should be a quick solution at hand. Because one day, and hopefully soon, Alice will walk out of her abusive relationship. And then, where will she go? What support will she get to help put her life back together? Well, in fact, in Plymouth, there are women-only houses. So, perhaps she'll find a safe home in one of them.
Everyone deserves a safe, secure and affordable place to live. Characters like Brainbox, suffering from war trauma, certainly do.
And do you remember that during the COVID pandemic, the policy was everybody in? And it worked. So it can be done.
Plymouth has created a coordinated approach to homelessness, but nationally there doesn't seem to be a real commitment to solving these problems. Homelessness is not inevitable, and neither is it a crime.
I said at the start of the play that you might be surprised to see a character such as Trolley classified as homeless. But there are people like Trolley who are vulnerable and marginalised, who just need guidance and kindness to access the help that is available.
It may be a cliche, but we need to remember that many people are only a paycheck or two away from being homeless themselves.
If your landlord decides to double your rent,
or you are made redundant,
or you suddenly fall ill and cannot work,
this could be you.
It shouldn't be like this, should it?
I've come home. The wretched of the earth have come home. Hello, Edwina. Do you remember me? It's Billy, little Billy O'Riordan. Do you remember me? Edwina, I've come back home. Edwina, Edwina.
Cardboard for a mattress. Someone stole his shoes. In his eyes you see no pride. Sitting calmly by his side, his sole companion, a dog to guard his booze. So how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of Plymouth, show you something to make you change your mind. Have you seen the young girl who walks the streets of Plymouth? Dirt in her auburn hair, her clothes a dirty grey. She's way too high for talking and just keeps right on walking. A rucksack for a home and no safe place to stay. So how